Tena King, Director of City Services for the City of Gadsden. Today I'm joined by Sergeant Eric Phillips. Eric, welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me today.
Today we're going to have a conversation about domestic violence. That's a topic that tends to come up this time of the year. And so you are with Gadsden Police Department, and so I imagine you've been through some extensive training about domestic violence. Do you want to explain to us exactly what that means?
Sure. So one of the things you have to have for it to be domestic violence is the relationship. So domestic violence, you have to be a married couple, a formerly married couple, in a dating relationship that is romantic in nature, okay, or have children in common. So those things you have to make it domestic violence. If you have those relationships, then you can go to the actual elements of the crime. Domestic violence is assaults, menacing, reckless endangerment, burglaries, trespassing, stalking, wow, as long as it meets the elements of the relationship status. A lot of people think that domestic violence is just getting slapped or punched or something physical, but those other crimes that encompass domestic violence are also things that can occur if you have if you meet the relationship part of the domestic violence code and elements. Okay. So a lot of times you'll have, it's damaging the property if you have that relationship. So those criteria are what makes domestic violence.
So let's say you have a man and a woman, they're in a dating relationship, and the gentleman takes the cell phone from the woman and smashes the cell phone, and she calls the police. And
that's a good example.
Okay, and so what would happen once y'all are...
So once the police are contacted, patrol would respond to the scene. A lot of times suspect is going to be gone, but regardless if he's there or if he's gone, the victim will tell the officer what happened, what took place. Officer will take a report on that. If the victim wishes to pursue charges and suspect has left the scene, then they would come to the Gadsden Police Department, to our records division, pick up a copy of the report that they filed for the incident. Then it would take a copy of that report to our East Side precinct, where our city court offices are, and speak with the city magistrate about obtaining a warrant for domestic violence.
Okay. So if the suspect is still there, what happens?
If a suspect is still there and the officer feels like primary aggressor, he has that ability to take someone into custody for domestic violence. So there's a lot of discretion when it comes to domestic violence. If the parties can be separated and it's not a violent form of domestic violence, sometimes that's the best route. Just get the parties separated, and if the victim wishes to press charges, getting the report at a later time, then she can do that, or he. That's another misconception.
Right. Oh, yeah. Domestic violence can always
say, I always say the victim's going to be female, but it can go both ways.
Right.
So arrests on scene can be made with suspects in domestic violence, or victims can get warrants later through our magistrates.
So if a suspect is removed from the scene and is arrested, so does that person have to stay in jail a certain amount of time, or how does that work?
Yes, ma'am. If a suspect is arrested, they stay in jail for 24 hours after they are placed in the Etowah County Jail.
Okay. We always talk about around the holidays there's more domestic violence. Why do you think that's true, and do you see that?
Okay, so that is a common misconception, and I actually, over the past several days, looked at our own statistics with the Gadsden Police Department. I think nationally that is reported a lot because people think that in the holidays people are off work or whatever, so there's more time spent with each other, which creates some discord. But it's a misconception. Our statistics show, and my own experience shows, that if you have a propensity to be violent, then there's no holiday for that.
That's true.
It happens just because. And I mean, there's several factors as to why someone commits domestic violence. But as far as holidays creating or making it more prevalent, we don't see that. It's pretty straight across the board. And what I've looked at over the past couple days, it actually, not by much, but when we do have a higher rate, looking at monthly statistics, it's been in the summer months,
Oh, really?
between May and June, some in July. But
Interesting.
our statistics show that holiday season, and I'm using Thanksgiving, Christmas as
Right.
that
Yeah.
holiday season, it's actually been lower. And that's reported incidents. That's not arrests made. That's just reported incidents of domestic violence.
Very interesting. So, just out of curiosity, so let's say a grandmother. If I were to slap my grandmother, which I would never do, would that be domestic violence?
According to the code, it would not be. It would be an assault,
Okay.
because the stipulations that are in the Alabama code book are parent, step-parent. I got a cheat sheet here. Children, stepchildren of the individual.
Okay.
And those that are having a romantic relationship and a dating relationship, or children in common.
Okay. Now, from a police officer's perspective, I have to ask this. You read and you hear on the news that the most dangerous call for a police officer to go out on is a domestic violence call. Is that because when you get there, the spouse or the other person has decided, oh, you're not taking him or her in, and I'm going to turn on the police officer too? Tell me about
So that is a true statement.
it. Okay.
Look, you never know what you're getting into when you get this domestic violence call. So when you arrive on scene, both parties are going to have heightened emotions.
Right.
So even though they may be in an argument, physical altercation, whatever the case may be, when you get there and you're trying to figure out who the primary aggressor is, sometimes when you start, and you're not taking sides, you're trying to figure out primary aggressor. So if you go to let's say the husband, and he's a primary aggressor, but now because of their relationship, they don't want the police involved, they will sometimes turn on you and start being aggressive toward the police, the victim.
Wow.
You do see that. So you just never know what you're getting into. There's been a lot of officer-involved shootings and officers killed in the line of duty responding to domestic incidents. And those you see because there's an altercation at a house. Victim calls the police. Suspect, you might have gone to that house multiple times over a year, let's say a year's time. So now suspect don't want to go back to jail, so he's going to set up and wait for police to come. And officers have been killed in the line of duty responding to calls like that because they're waiting on the officer to arrive.
Wow. This is such a tough subject to discuss, but I appreciate you taking the time. I do want to end on a lighter note, and that is, tell me something fun about you. Tell me a fun fact.
Let's see. So before I came to the Gadsden Police Department, I actually traveled in a full-time gospel music quartet.
What?
It actually started as a trio, but it was a quartet. So I sang in a gospel music quartet for about 8 years before I came to the Gadsden Police Department.
So you went from a professional singer to a Gadsden
That's
Police.
right.
Okay.
That's right.
You want to sing for us today?
I'm not prepared.
I knew you were going to say that. But on a more serious note, so is there anything you would like to say in closing regarding domestic violence
So,
at Gadsden Police?
If you are a victim of domestic violence, call the police department. You can call if it's going on right now. Call 911. If you want to call and make a report, and it's sometime after the fact, call 256-549-4500. And that goes to our main dispatch, and they'll have somebody come out and speak with you about the incident that took place.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate y'all watching another community conversation.